Barry Peters represents Bainbridge Community Broadcasting, whose mission, like Ignite's, is to offer a voice to the many, the varied, and the unique voices that make up our community. Barry Peters.
Living on an island gives us a sense of place, so it's natural to care about sustaining community here. Most of us appreciate the island's small-town community feel. Well, to build on that community feeling, Sustainable Bainbridge is supporting a community radio startup, an all-volunteer project called Bainbridge Community Broadcasting, or BCB. Now, what does radio do for a community? Well, you know, like a farmer's market, local radio is a place to meet people who live here. Radio is like a fresh air market. It's a place where community happens. And, you know, we're a small town that believes in shopping local. Local radio is like a shop local campaign for the mind. Our first internet radio shows this week on BCB are all about local events and local people. And we're lucky to have such a strong community of local artists, authors, poets, theater performers, creative people. A community radio station offers interviews with these local treasures. And whether you like your music party style at a place like the Treehouse Cafe, or in a singing group or jazz combo, local radio is a place to hear local musicians and their music. Also, have you met the local cyclists who organize outdoor events like Bike for Pie? Have you heard the best places to hike on the island? Local radio interviews are a way to rediscover the great outdoors, and local sports groups too. And many islanders are activists who care passionately about community issues. Consider the recent debate about the Supreme Court decision putting more money into politics. Local radio provides a forum for discussing and debating community issues. And local radio occasionally lets us out of the studio to go cover popular family events like the Rotary Auction in June, or the annual Bluegrass Festival on Battle Point, or the Harvest Fair in the fall. And speaking of the Rotary, as Charlie said, they stepped up to support local radio by enabling Bainbridge High School students like these to have professional radio studio equipment at the high school. So it's a multi-generational project. Thanks to Charlie, about 15 students have already joined the BCB High School Radio Club. And our Winslow studio now has about 30 active adult volunteers like Lissa. And it has volunteers like Bob, who showed up from BCB last month to do Earth Day interviews at the farmer's market with the people there. And then there was an interview with a polar bear for the day from one of the local organizations. So currently, our adult radio volunteers are mostly women, like Annie. Let's thank people like Terry Gross of NPR for setting an inspiring standard for interviewing and journalism. Volunteers bring remarkable professional and creative backgrounds, like Kayla, who's a professional voiceover artist who offers training on dropping into your radio voice. So that's the sort of thing that happens at BCB, but the old technology, it nailed you to your seat at home or in the car. But with today's internet radio smartphones, you can take a fresh air run in the Grand Forest and listen to an interesting podcast interview at the same time. And podcast listening is growing with top shows like This American Life and Radiolab, and even with Our Hills and Trees, a downloaded podcast stored on a smartphone can be clearly heard anywhere on the island. Our first podcast show at BCB is called What's Up Bainbridge. Each 5-minute episode previews an upcoming event as described by the artist or organizer behind that event. Now, BCB has a second mission for next year, and that's to provide local emergency information by radio during power outages or weather emergencies or even an earthquake. This is done elsewhere in other communities, like Vashon, that inspires us with its community radio station and a roadside sign that blinks a yellow light when there's emergency information by radio for motorists or cyclists or residents. So, we're on the air. BCB is on the air on the internet. It's out to build community on Bainbridge Island, and I hope that each of you will join us, either as a volunteer or a guest behind the mic, or, best of all, as a listener.